Hi guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing my new Book Buzz video for July, August and September. So this is a video series that I started last year where every quarter I talk about new books that are coming out in those particular months that I'm particularly excited about. So obviously there are hundreds of books that come out every quarter and I could be sitting here forever talking about them, but I'm only going to be talking about the ones that I'm particularly interested in. So I have quite a few books to talk to you about today, so let's jump into what I've got to share with you. So starting off with July, the first book that I want to talk about today is The Last Time I Lied, and this is by Riley Sager, and this is coming out on the 10th of July, and it's another thriller by this particular author. I did read his other book this year and didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to, so I'm hoping to like this one a little bit better. And I don't really like to know a lot about thrillers before I go into them, but there's a tagline on the description of this one that says, "Have you ever played Two Truths and a Lie?" And I think it's going to do something similar to what Final Girls did in terms of there's going to be like two different timelines, so something that happened in the past and then kind of jumping forward to present day. So like I said, I'm hoping to like this one a little bit more than Final Girls, but this is coming out on the 10th. The next book that I want to talk about is What We Were Promised by Lucy Tan, and this is also coming out on the 10th of July. And this is a debut novel by a Chinese American writer, and it's set in modern Shanghai, and it explores the question of what we owe to our country, our families and ourselves. So there's a lot about this one particular family in here and the dynamics between them and the different members of the family. I thought it just sounded like a really good description, and I really like the cover on this one. Next out on the 12th of July is Hold by Michael Donker, and I've been hearing about this book for ages. Lots of people that I've seen on BookTube have been getting proof copies of this, and the cover is absolutely stunning, and every time I see the cover I'm just so intrigued by it, so I had to include it in this video. And this is set in Ghana and London, so it switches between the two settings, and it's being described as a coming of age novel, and it's about three girls and how their lives intertwine. So I think one of the girls lives in London and the other two live in Ghana, and then one of the two girls that live in Ghana have to move over to London, so it's just about how they meet and how their lives intertwine. And like I said, every time I see this cover I'm so intrigued by it. And then the last book that I got for July is Record of a Spaceborne View, and this is by Becky Chambers, and this is coming out on the 24th of July. This is the third book in the Wayfarer series. I haven't read books 1 and 2, but I desperately want to. My husband has read them and says that they're very good, and this is a continuation of that series, so I really must get around to reading the first book. Next up we have the books coming out in August, and the first of those is Catwoman Soul Stealer by Sarah J Maas, and this is out on the 9th of August. And this is part of the DC Icon series, so I think Leigh Bardugo did Wonder Woman, and then I think Marie Lu did the Batman one. Yeah, I think so. So this is Sarah J Maas doing Catwoman. And that's all I know about it. I've actually pre-ordered this one from Waterstones. I got an email to say that they were doing this special edition of it, and I think it's signed, although I can't remember, so of course I had to order that one. I haven't read anything else in this particular series, but I do really enjoy Sarah J Maas's writing. Next in August we have Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, and this is also out on the 9th. And of course we know that Karen Slaughter writes thrillers. I'm yet to read a book by her, but she's one of those authors where I think I pretty much know I'm going to enjoy what she does. So all I know about this is that it's a thriller about a mother hiding secrets from her daughter. And again, don't really like to know much about thrillers, but Karen Slaughter has such a good representation within the thriller genre. Next up is A Ladder to the Sky, and this is by John Boyne, and this is also out on the 9th of August. I've only ever read John Boyne's children's novels or YA. I've not actually read an adult novel of his, so I really should correct that. But this has been described as a psychological drama of cat and mouse. So he strikes me as an author that jumps between genres quite a lot. You know, you get those authors who just write thrillers or just write contemporary romances or something like that, but he kind of strikes me as somebody who likes to dip his toe into lots of different things. So it's interesting, that particular description. Yeah, and I'll have to see whether I like his adult stuff. The next book that I want to talk about is Ohio, and this is by Stephen Markley, and this is out on the 21st of August. And this is a debut novel, and it focuses around one night in 2013, and 4 classmates each come back to the town on their own sort of mission to do something. So it centres around this particular place in Ohio, and I think what the author is trying to do is show modern American culture through the lens of this particular town in Ohio. So that sounds really, really interesting. And I've heard a couple of people talk about it so far and they've had good things to say. I also have here Vox, and this is by Christina Dolcher, I think that's how you pronounce that. And this is out on the 23rd of August. And this has got a really, really interesting premise. It says it's for fans of The Handmaid's Tale, which straight away I was intrigued by that. And it's set in this world where women are only limited to speaking 100 words a day, and then they're also limited with some other things as well. And you are punished, or something happens to you if you speak more than 100 words a day. So that sounds absolutely fascinating. I heard Acacia from Acacia Ives do a review of this, and she had really, really good things to say about it, so looking forward to picking that one up. And then lastly in August I have Sea Prayer, and this is by Khaled Hosseini, and obviously he hasn't come out with a book in quite a few years. It's really, really exciting to see him coming out with something new, and this is out on the 30th of August. And this is something quite different from what he's done before in terms of the format of it anyway. So this is an illustrated short work of fiction, and it's about a father who recalls his childhood to his son before they leave on a sea journey for a new home. So I believe it's set in Syria, or the father is talking about his childhood in Syria before him and his son and some other people that they're with get on this boat to this new home that they're going to. So obviously really, really relevant to what's going on today. I'm not sure whether it's an adult book or whether it's aimed at younger readers, but I think that sounds absolutely fabulous, and the illustrations that I've seen so far look really, really pretty. And then moving on to September, the first book in September is Small Animals, and this is by Kim Brooks, and this is out on the 1st of September. This is a non-fiction book that I actually heard about over on Russell's channel from Ink and Paper blog. This was a book that he brought back from BookCon, I think it was, where they were talking about sort of like the top books that were coming out in the next sort of like 6 months of the year, and it sounded really, really fascinating. So this is the author investigating the role America's culture of fear plays in parenthood, and this is off of the back of the fact that she left her 4-year-old son in the car while she popped into the shop to get something. Somebody noticed that he was in the car by himself, and then that sparked her having to deal, like the police got involved, and then there was this huge big court case, I think. And so off of the back of that, she's looking at, you know, that kind of culture of fear in America and how that relates to parenthood. So sounds really, really interesting. A book that I'm really, really excited about is Summer Bird Blue, and this is by Akemi Dawn Bowman, and this is out on the 11th of September. And I read her novel Starfish, her debut novel Starfish, earlier in the year, and absolutely loved it. It's one of my favourite books of the year, and I'll link that video for you if you haven't seen that already. So like I said, this is out on the 11th of September, and this is about a girl whose sister dies, and it focuses around her grief, but also trying to find music again, because before her sister died she was trying to write music, I think, or something like that. So sounds really good, and I can't wait to read it. Next up is The Real Lolita, and this is by Sarah Weinman, and this is also out on the 11th of September. And Apparently the book Lolita was inspired by a real life case, which was the 1948 abduction of 11-year-old Sally Horner. So this is a non-fiction book that basically goes into the details of the case and, you know, what happened to Sally and like kind of how it inspired the book basically. I do like a bit of not real crime kind of stuff, so yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting. We have another book here from an author who hasn't written something in quite a while, or it hasn't been translated in quite a while, and that is The Labyrinth of the Spirits by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is out on the 18th of August and it's the 4th book in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books series. So that series starts with the book The Shadow of the Wind, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. I'm yet to read the 3rd book in that series, and it's one of those series where I kind of feel like I'm going to have to go back to the beginning again, because there are lots and lots of details that I think I will miss if I don't do that, and his writing can be quite magical, kind of realism-esque and a little bit strange, shall we say, so I kind of think I might need to go back to the beginning, but this, in any case, this is a continuation of that series. Speaking of continuations of series, out next is Wildcard by Marie Lu, which is being published on the 20th of September, and this is the 2nd book in the Warcross series, and I read the 1st book I think in April this year and really loved it. It's a book about a world where there's this game called Warcross set in sort of like virtual reality, and this girl who kind of is like a bounty hunter for it is asked by the owner of the series, the game, to go to Tokyo and like work for him, and that's basically the premise of the 1st book. And then obviously we've got this one, which is the 2nd book, so really looking forward to seeing how it continues on. I was also really excited to see that Kate Morton has got a new book coming out, which is called The Clockmaker's Daughter, and this is being published on the 20th of September. And this is set in 2 timelines, which I'm pretty sure most of her novels do that kind of thing. So we've got 1862, there are a group of friends that go to this particular house called something beginning with B, I can't remember, this particular house, and they plan on having like a really fun and chilled out summer there, and then a woman ends up getting shot dead and another one disappears. And then we've also got a modern timeline where somebody finds a drawing of this particular house, and it basically, I suppose, brings the case back to life again, something kind of along those lines. I've only read one book by Kate Morton, but I really enjoyed it, and I have all of her other ones, I think, apart from one, up on my shelf, so yeah, looking forward to seeing this out. I was also really glad the other day to see that Jen Campbell is publishing the 2nd book in the Franklin's Flying Bookshop series, and this is called Franklin and Luna Go to the Moon, and this is also out on the 20th of September. I absolutely loved Franklin's Flying Bookshop. I thought it was such a lovely story, so well illustrated. I think it's Katie Hartnett, or if that's wrong I'll put her name on the screen, but she did fantastic illustrations, and I just really liked the moral behind the story, and I bought it for my 2 nephews for Christmas, and yeah, so really looking forward to seeing the sequel out. Another interesting one that I added to my list is Into the Jungle, and this is by Katherine Rundell, also out on the 20th of September. Now, I read her other book this year, Rooftoppers. Didn't really like it, to be honest, but what intrigued me about this one is that this is the origin stories for all of Kipling's characters from the Jungle Book. Really liked, well, kind of liked the book, but loved the films of the Jungle Book, so I'm kind of intrigued to see how she plays around with those stories, and I believe this is also illustrated as well, so yeah, I'm willing to give it another go. And then lastly is The Restless Girls by Jessie Burton, and this is out on the 27th of September, and this says it is a feminist reimagining of The 12 Dancing Princesses, which is some sort of fairy story which I'm not actually familiar with. I've never read that fairy story before, but it's a, like I said, a feminist reimagining of that, and There are quite a few authors that are playing around with that idea at the moment, like Louise O'Neill in The Surface Breaks. And this is going to be illustrated by Angela Barrett. And it looks like it's going to be like in a children's book sort of style. So yeah, haven't read anything by Jessie Burton yet, but I thought that sounded fabulous. So there you go guys, they are all of the books that are coming out between July and September that I'm personally really excited about. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. Are there any other books that you're particularly interested about that are coming out in those months? Please let me know down below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.